case of Trump, he's talked about that he had 4 bankruptcies. In the case of Winston Churchill, he had massive failure with the Gallipoli campaign in World War I, which was very costly both in lives and treasure for the British people. But those experiences formed this steel of spine for them. And both men saw, I believe, the primary threat to the age. In the case of Winston Churchill, it was the Nazi threat, and also later the Soviet threat. He, with his famous Iron Curtain speech, he was right on the 2 biggest threats of his age. And with Donald Trump, he sees the biggest threats of China externally and internally, the domestic risk of socialism. And so both overcame opposition within their own conservative party. The quote-unquote establishment was very resistant to both Churchill and Trump, and they both overcame it, and they're both mavericks of their own way.
That's very interesting. We're going to get into that. We're going to unpack that in just a moment. Right now, we are taking a look at the armored vehicle that we're getting word that President Trump is inside right now, soon to be president in just a few hours once again. And so he is actually, from what we understand, he has left the church and is now going to be making his way back to the Blair House before heading into the White House. And he is in that car right now. So we're going to be keeping an eye on that vehicle as it moves, which it appears to be doing right now, making its way down the road. We'll circle back around, and as soon as he arrives to his next destination, whether it be the Blair House or the White House, we are going to take you there. Looks like he is going to be heading to the White House as we speak for that ceremonial tea with President Biden and the First Lady. Incoming First Lady Melania will be sitting down for tea with Jill Biden, which is fascinating when you think about it, Carla. Melania has sort of taken a little bit of a more reserved approach to this political life that she's been thrust into. What do you make of the fact that they're going to sit down for tea? They're totally different from 2020.
Yeah, well, I think they treated her so badly last time. The media, the fashion designers, the fashion press, but just in general, the blob mistreated her so badly. I don't think she's really all that all that excited about the pressure and the unkindness. But I feel a different feeling in our country, like there is, even on the left, they're like saying, okay, he won the popular vote. He's got a mandate. I feel like they were burning cars when I was here 8 years ago. Literally in front of me, they were burning cars. I don't see that this time. I'm appreciative of the Secret Service and all of the police in the area keeping us all safe. But it seems like there's a change in the air in Washington, D.C. But to Carrie's point, back in 2016, when I told a famous pollster, very famous Republican pollster, Donald Trump is our new Churchill, he almost passed out. He was so upset.
And Josh, you know, it's not just a change in the air in Washington, D.C. When you look at the numbers, President Trump didn't win every state, but he gained in every state, and in some cases, historic swings. We're going to talk to one of our guests in a little while about the swing in Miami that comes to mind, where you went -10 in 2020 to +10 in Miami-Dade County. It's really a historic shift. You're in New York. I've spent a lot of time there for work, back and forth. As a journalist, I talk to people. I've talked to a lot of immigrants, legal immigrants who are working there, who, traditionally voted Democrat. And they said that this time, they didn't want to say it at the time, but they implied they were going to go for Trump. What are you sensing in your state of New York?
Sure, and the reason why I say today is different than it was in 2017 was because in 2017 there was a sense of shock among Democrats. How did this happen? Hillary, won by 3 million votes in the popular vote. How did this happen? My constituents and my friends on Long Island and in New York are not asking that question. We know how it happened, right? President Trump spoke to the majority of the country, and when you look at the fact that President Trump reigned with every minority group, when not one county moved to Harris that was from Biden, not one county in the country, when he gained with Jewish voters, with Latino voters, Asian voters, black voters, there was a coalition that was put together by President Trump that said, he's speaking to us, and we might not like his antics, we might not like his language, we might not like him, but at least somebody is speaking common sense to the issues we care about on the border, on inflation, on crime, on kids in schools. So it's a very different vibe today. No one is shocked by what happened today, certainly not me.
And right now we're taking a look at the screen, Carrie, where President-elect Trump is arriving at the Blair House right there. You can see his motorcade, which is just a few steps from the White House, where he will be heading in just moments, which we will take you to all of that. We just want to keep our viewers updated. Carrie, to Josh's point, really a historic shift right now. We're going to see some executive orders coming in. What do you anticipate to see with these?
Well, Josh is a very reasonable Democrat, and I wish we could clone him. But unfortunately, I don't think we'll have as many Democrats being quite so willing to, be a fair and robust opposition, but to actually want to get things done. Unfortunately, I wish there were more Democrats like that. I mean, just as an example, we had the Protect Women in Sports Act. I was on Capitol Hill with Speaker Johnson earlier this week because it was passed by the House. Only 2 Democrats came to support this bill to protect women's sports. And even Seth Moulton, who had spoken out against biological men in women's sports, he kowtowed to the far left because he got smacked down by his party in Massachusetts. This was very disappointing. And so I mean, as a Republican conservative, I'm like, you keep doing that, Democrats. You keep doing that. Same thing with Kamala Harris saying, I'm not going to go quietly into the night. The fact, to Josh's point, that she wasn't able to win a single county over what Biden won, if they want to choose to nominate her again, by all means, please do that. But I think on the executive orders, because Trump won with a mandate, when you look at his agenda on, as Carla mentioned, energy policy, on economic policy, on immigration policy, that's what the American people want. And so it's up to the Democrats if they want to deliver what we, the people, said in the ballot box. And it's also up to the Republicans to get that done.
Right now, we're still taking a live look here at the feed in front of the Blair House, where we just saw part of the Trump family exiting their vehicles. You saw Donald Trump Jr., his Trump's daughter Ivanka, as well as her husband Jared Kushner, all filing in there. And right now, this appears to be a look at the White House, where we have Vice President Kamala Harris and the second gentleman there, apparently waiting to greet what I would expect. Maybe somebody else could weigh in here, perhaps the Vice President?
Elect.
Vice President-elect, thank you. I know with the timing, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
We're only a couple hours.
That's right. And so we'll see here who's going to come out.
Well, I'm glad to see that they've stepped up because apparently they were not offering such kindness when it came to the official vice presidential residence that apparently J.D. Vance's wife, Usha Vance, had tried to baby-proof the house because they've got young children. And Kamala Harris was nowhere to be seen to assist with that transition, unfortunately. They did not allow them, as I understand it, an actual physical visit to the vice president's residence.
Wow, that is...
apparently reluctantly.
And here we are right now. They are actually greeting each other.
What a beautiful coat she's wearing.
It is beautiful.
Very nice, very elegant. Usha Vance, the second lady.
Well, and to Carla's point on fashion,
Elect.
and I think it was interesting on Instagram, Oscar de la Renta, which is one of the biggest brands, they've been featuring Usha and also Ivanka Trump on their pages with inauguration outfits. And I saw that and I was like, oh, is this a turning point where maybe the fashion industry will actually be, I mean, they're such elegant women. So for them to ignore, to not
have...
be
lucky to have them, right?
Absolutely. And to put, are we going to see Melania Trump, who was a former supermodel, on the front page of a Vogue magazine? She deserves to be there.
They just had Jill Biden a few months ago.
Yes.
Saying she would decide their future.
Say what you want about Donald Trump. A lot of things fly around in the media. One of his most, I guess, underlooked or overlooked executive orders in his first term was one regarding bringing back classical architecture in government buildings. Yeah. We see a lot of this brutalist style, the Department of Labor, and whatnot. Right now, this live look at your screen is inside of the Capitol, where they're rehearsing for their performance that they will have live in front of the president during his swearing-in ceremony. That is the Capitol Rotunda, where the swearing-in was moved to. We're going to have a listen for a moment. It's a nice look right now where you can see some of the seating arrangements that are taking place inside of the Capitol Rotunda, where the swearing-in ceremony and the taking of the oath of office has been moved. A much limited seating arrangement when you factor in all the members of Congress, senators, House of Representatives, cabinet members, family members. Really not much room in there at all. And this is a pretty good look right now where we're going to be able to take a look. Right now we're going to cut back over to NTD's Chris Bobb, who is on the ground near Capital One Arena. This is where Trump is hosting a rally later today, same place he was hosting a rally last night. 20,000 people will be allowed into that arena as opposed to that smaller venue there that you saw at the Capitol. Chris, what have you been hearing from the crowd?
Well, there's a lot of energy here in the crowd. Some people had been camped out since 2, 3 in the morning. I saw some people back here over on G Street who were in sleeping bags, you know, keeping warm. Some of them even from 1 o'clock in the morning. The line started moving around 7 a.m. Everyone jumped up, ready to spring into action and go usher into the Capitol Arena to see the president soon. If you take a look here, we have right over here is G Street. Stretches all the way out. That building in the back is the arena. All the way down here on 10th Street. It goes on and on and on and on. There's tens of thousands of people getting ready to see the president on those screens set up inside that arena. So a lot of people happy, a lot of energy. I spoke with people from France, from Korea, from Italy. I spoke with people from as far away as Virginia and Texas. So there's a lot of people out here coming to see. I said, why did you come here instead of watching it on TV? They said, I missed the first one. We have to be here for this.
Really amazing stuff, Chris. NTD's Chris Bobb, thank you. It's a really great reminder, too, that the United States, the presidency, and our nation impacts the entire world. Right now, we are going to take a break. Coming up, who's arriving at the Capitol to attend the ceremony? And what does it signify about Trump's priorities heading into his second term? Stay tuned for that just after the break.
According to ancient Chinese medicine, purslane is considered a medicinal herb and is used to help lower cholesterol, improve vascular functions, and prevent diabetes. Perilla seeds can nourish the lungs and spleen. It is used to treat asthma and improve pulmonary functions. Puritang green vegetable omega-3 is made from purslane and perilla seeds from Hwangmae Mountain in South Korea. It contains over 90% of omega-3, 6, 7, and 9. The highest concentration possible without chemical additives. The soft gel is made of natural seaweed. It is 100% organic and vegan. Both adults and children can take it with peace of mind. Ancient recipes were passed down from heaven to bring prosperity and longevity. Puritang green vegetable omega-3.
Being a cowboy, I don't know anything different from when I was 3 or 4 years old. I did tough things. I thought everybody needed to do tough things, and if you didn't, I didn't have time for it. I had a very successful career at a very young age, and life was fast. I was preparing physically. I wasn't doing anything mentally on the inside. And then I got hurt. I wanted to be better as a person, and I really dug into mental health. I start my day with 20-minute workouts. I live life 8 seconds at a time. Horses are so therapeutic. They know what you're feeling. When you're nervous, they're nervous. He won't say it back, but we're pals. I take a lot of responsibility in taking care of my kids, my family, and being there for them. You're gonna have tough days. Everybody does. Find a place to stop and just breathe. Love your mind.
My name's Stacy, I'm 57, and I was adopted in 2020.
We were adopted in 2019.
And we were adopted in 2021.
We had a house.
And it sounds crazy, but it wasn't a home. The one thing that Jake and Emma brought is it became a home.
When I met Dakota, he had just turned 14.
You weren't there for the first this and the first that. I missed the first words, but we got a lot of other firsts.
Watching her say, oh my God, I cannot believe I got my license. And she's like, I passed. And I'm like, girl.
See them grow. It is.
They chose to love us. They didn't have to. They chose us. Family.
You and you. Kids in the middle.
What I thought was a complete life was nowhere near complete, but it is now.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org.
And right there is a live look at the Capitol steps. That looks like it is the East Front with Marine One, one of the helicopters. Usually there's three that track the president, waiting there. We're expecting that particular helicopter to take President Biden away after the swearing in and after everything becomes official and President Trump becomes the 47th president. And you know, right now we are anticipating President Trump to leave the Blair House, which is what some might call the guest house of the White House. There's a live look right there at the area where the Blair House is. And it is a very short drive to the White House. So as soon as he departs, he will be at the White House in just a few short moments, where he will be greeted by President Biden and First Lady Jill Biden. Carla, you know, there's been a sort of a tradition, Michelle Obama and Melania exchanging gifts in 2017. Do we expect to see something like that today, do you think?
I would think so, yes. I can see that Joe and Jill Biden seem to be relieved that President Trump won as opposed to his vice president. And he seemed happy. She wore a red suit on Election Day. He put on the MAGA cap. And so I think there was a lot of unhappiness about what happened within their party. And so I think that there will be gifts exchanged. And, you know, Melania Trump and Donald Trump, they always take the high road when it comes to formality and ceremonial efforts. And so I think that they will, yes, have a gift.
That's a really fascinating point that you make there as we continue to take a look at a live feed right here, waiting for President Trump to depart the Blair House. But this right now we're taking a look, I believe that appears to be the Capitol, where some visitors are filing in and getting ready for the swearing in after President Trump and President Biden have tea and a greeting at the White House. President Trump's motorcade, President-elect Trump at the moment still, will make his way through Pennsylvania Ave directly to the Capitol for his swearing in. And there you have on your screen Ivanka Trump and her family, Jared Kushner and their children. They are making their way in to the Capitol as well right now. We do have our NTD correspondent Luis Martinez, who may be in the rotunda right now. If we could bring him up to give us an idea of what is taking place right now. Luis, who have you been seeing arriving right now at this ceremony, and what is the atmosphere there like?
Of course, well, I'm right now at the Senate Rotunda. That's a few hundred meters away from the Capitol Rotunda, where President-elect Donald Trump will be sworn into office in a few hours. Right now in the Senate Rotunda, it is very quiet. It's mostly military personnel and the media. It's later on today that it's going to be a very busy afternoon for the Senate, because one of the first things that we're expecting President-elect Donald Trump to do once he's sworn into office is actually send his official list of nominees for his cabinet positions to Congress, because as of right now, they're not officially nominees. The Senate has been holding hearings to confirm the people that Trump has announced that he will be selecting, but it's not been made official. So later today, it's going to be really busy here in the Senate Rotunda. Around 4:30 p.m., the Senate Foreign Affairs Committee will hold a hearing where they most likely will vote to advance the nomination of Senator Marco Rubio for Secretary of State. So actually today, Monday, we might see the first confirmations of nominees for President-elect Donald Trump's cabinet.
NTD's Luis Martinez there live at the Capitol, where he's watching some of the guests trickling in there. And there's another live look at the Blair House, still awaiting President Donald Trump's arrival or return, however you would like to think about it, to the White House. Carrie, Luis talked about Marco Rubio and some of the swearing in, some of the new appointees or nominees. How do you think the confirmation process is going to play out for some of these picks?
Well, we've already seen it, the starts of it, and I think the nominees have done a phenomenal job. I think what's really interesting and telling from the Democrats, they're looking backward, and these nominees are looking forward, and that contrast couldn't have been sharper, from my opinion. And when you're talking about things, for example, so Pete Hegseth, he wants to, I mean, you're seeing recruitment in the military down, morale down. The military is upset. I've spoken to service members who say, we don't like the direction that under Biden and Mark Milley. Note that Biden today gave a pardon to Mark Milley because he knows, unfortunately, Trump was going to hold him accountable. I think he'll find some other ways to hold him accountable, as he should.
Hold him accountable for what?
Mark Milley accountable for the drift of the way that the military has become, in some ways, complacent, flabby. It's more focused on DEI and what people look like. Paying for gender surgeries with taxpayer money instead of being a lethal force. You should be more prepared to fight an army or an enemy than worrying and bickering about who's wearing the uniform. And that's where the focus should be, and that's what Pete Hegseth wants to restore. And so he didn't let the distractions around his personal life distract from that mission, which is what we want in the Pentagon. You saw the same thing when it came to Kristi Noem. The Democrats tried to distract her, again, pulling up the past. They tried to talk about family separation and the cages, and it's like, I'm sorry, but those policies began on, those were Obama policies, actually. And even the fake media had put images from Obama and had mislabeled them as Trump, and she called that out. And so I think you're going to see an unwavering, in a way that's different. It's a different cabinet this time. I think it's a cabinet that understands America first in a way that the first cabinet, a lot of them were coming more from the swamp.
And to Carrie's point, Jeff, when some of these picks were first announced, you kind of questioned whether some of those more moderate Republican senators would be getting on board. They seem to have galvanized around all of them. Do you see any particular pick that might have trouble?
I'm like you. I was surprised. I thought Pete Hegseth would encounter some real significant headwinds. I mean, on paper, he is one of the least qualified nominees to head the Pentagon in the 20th or 21st century. But, the Republican establishment has shown, after Matt Gaetz, has shown little appetite for opposing any of President Trump's nominees. So my understanding is I think most of them are going to be approved. And I will agree with Carrie. I think Democrats, if they had a chance to derail some of these nominees, they should have talked about qualifications rather than messy personal lives. I mean, the American people have spoken. They said it in the 90s with Bill Clinton. They said it with Trump, in both hands. They don't care about their marriages. They don't care about messy personal lives. And so Democrats, if they want to defeat some of these nominees, they need to talk about qualifications, because I think that's what voters really care about. And Republican senators understand that.
And I think to your point, the American people are forgiving people, and a big part of Pete Hegseth's testimony was talking about redemption and how people can change. And so I think that resonates with.
Yeah, I think another reason why there wasn't as much opposition also was because Trump for the last 4 years has been a leader within the party to remove, during the primary process, a lot of people who were obstructing his agenda during Congress in his first term. So I think that was a brilliant strategy on his part, which is part of why Republicans will be able to get so much more done more quickly, because right out of the gate, the Republicans don't want to stumble when it comes to things like nominees. We've got to get bills passed. And so it's a credit to Trump for realizing that he can't have Congress hamstring his agenda.
Carla, this is a rather historic inauguration. Every new election brings its own historic moments, but in the sense that President Trump has invited foreign dignitaries, heads of state of other nations. This is something never done before. What do you think the, I guess, strategy, if you will, behind it, or is it just as simple as a nice gesture to some of these world leaders?
I think it does bring unity to his agenda in the global sense. The United States is the leader in the world. We want to stay that way. We don't want to be supplanted by China, for instance, which does want to be the global hegemon. So one of the ways to do that is to draw our allies in and keep our enemies close. So you see that he invited Xi Jinping to come to his inaugural, and Xi is sending his vice president. So I think that's a good sign. I think there are concerns around, especially like the TikTok deal, but President Trump has the best advisor, so I know that something good will come out of that.
Speaking of the TikTok deal, anybody can weigh in on this. A lot of people, I think, are taking Trump's message that he's in support of TikTok as it is. But I think if you read the fine print, nothing has really changed other than simply giving an extension for 90 days. And if the CCP isn't willing to give up that 50% share, and also what comes along with that is the algorithm.
Yes.
And the data storage, then we're back to square one again.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, President Trump respects the rule of law, and this was a law that was passed by Congress and signed into law by the president. So he will enforce the law, but to your point, he's willing to grant an extension in order to get this deal done. And you have some very prominent Americans who say they want to do that purchase and get that deal done. Well, Trump is the deal maker, so I have good faith that he'll be able to get this deal, shepherd it through. I think in terms of part of why he's supporting TikTok is that was a big reason why he won, especially had great inroads with young people, is he had a TikTok whisperer. He's from Utah, or he has connections to Utah, where my family's from. I know he worked closely with Sean Reyes, who's the Attorney General of Utah. And so he was able to, through his TikTok magic, I think he's only like 20 or in his early 20s, he helped connect Trump with the next generation, and that's a big reason why Trump won.
Yeah, the TikTok situation is certainly complicated. Multiple things can be true at once. You can rest assured we'll be paying very close attention to that as it unfolds. In the meantime, up on our screen right now is the president's motorcade, President-elect Donald Trump's motorcade, filing in there to arrive at the White House. Jeff, what are we expecting to see unfold here?
We're going to see the usual formalities and niceties, and we're going to see what we all want is the outgoing president to graciously greet the incoming president to model what is bipartisan behavior.
And there you have right now President Biden and the First Lady Jill Biden standing there. And to Carla's earlier point, she looks like she's in Democratic blue as opposed to conservative red on Election Day. So there she is. We're just going to let this roll here as President Donald Trump and the first President-elect Donald Trump and First Lady Melania are set to arrive.
Welcome home. Is that what he said? Welcome home?
Yeah, he did. That's fascinating. Welcome home.
I'm thinking back to 8 years ago.
Well, there you have it, a rather amazing moment where President Trump arrived at the White House to be greeted by President Biden, welcoming him home. Audibly, I think we all heard it right here. And it was really fascinating, a nice gesture to President Trump, to President-elect Trump, from the sitting president, President Biden. It's something a little bit different. He doesn't really need a tour like he may have last time because he's quite familiar with the White House. What did you make of the First Lady's attire?
I've loved it. It's a beautiful moment, but it does feel a little bit like armor, like she is girding herself for what's ahead. And, you know, she, I think, takes her job very seriously as the First Lady, but she knows that she's not running the country. I think at times Jill Biden, I'm understanding, was sitting in cabinet meetings and trying to run them. And so Melania Trump knows she's First Lady. She's not the president. So that's a nice change. And she's, I mean, she's a great role model, I think, for young women as far as a great mother, great homemaker, and a great companion to her husband.
And we just did see President-elect Donald Trump making his way into the White House to meet with sitting President Joe Biden for just a few more hours. He will be the president, and they're going to have tea and a discussion. And we will be back with more of our special live coverage of the 47th President, Donald Trump's second inauguration.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call Affirmation Fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanted to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Hi friends, Richard Karn here. Now I'm known as the guy who can fix just about anything, but the technology in most appliances requires very special training to fix. My point is, even I know when I've met my match, and that's why my family has Choice Home Warranty. So we won't get stuck with high-priced repairs.
Choice Home Warranty covers over 25 major home systems and appliances. That's your AC, heating, plumbing, kitchen and laundry appliances, and so much more.
Imagine for less than a cup of coffee a day, Choice Home Warranty can help protect you from expensive major system and appliance breakdowns that your homeowner's insurance doesn't cover. But you have to call now before it's too late.
Every homeowner should have Choice Home Warranty. Your homeowner's insurance is not going to cover your appliances.
Washing machine, dryer, refrigerator, air condition. If I had any issues arise, they were able to take care of it immediately.
Now, homeowner's insurance won't protect you when your home's major systems and appliances break down due to normal wear and tear. But Choice Home Warranty will. They can help cover repairs and replacements.
Choice Home Warranty is the best warranty we've ever used. It would save you so much money in the long run.
Hey, I'm not the only one raving about Choice Home Warranty. They were named a Best Home Warranty Company and Best Claim Service by U.S. News 360 Reviews.
Call Choice Home Warranty now and get access to a nationwide network of over 15,000 technicians and the latest appointment setting technology so you'll know when they're on their way.
If I have an issue with an appliance or something around the house, I just call up Choice Home Warranty and I don't have to worry about that.
So, do what this old DIYer did and call Choice Home Warranty now before something breaks down. Tell them I sent you and get your first month free.
Call Choice Home Warranty before it's too late and get protection for your heating, AC, plumbing, kitchen and laundry appliances, and more. Call for your free quote today. Call in the next 5 minutes and get your first month free. 800-360-6782. 800-360-6782.
And you're looking right now at our live feed of the White House where President-elect Donald Trump and President Joe Biden are inside meeting right now for that traditional meet. Right now, we are going to toss it over to the Capital One Arena, where we have our NTD correspondent, Jack Bradley, who's there. Jack, thousands of spectators are waiting awaiting the inaugural parade. How are things shaping up?
Well, it's really packing up in here. You know, we have about 20,000 of capacity here, and we expect every seat to be full because the 20,000 is about 10% of the original 200,000 of the tickets sold to go onto the National Mall before the parade was moved indoors from normally down Pennsylvania Avenue to here, the Capital One Arena. I met a couple from Los Angeles who earlier told me that they had to wake up at 3 a.m. to ensure that they would get a spot here. Now, usually the parade, of course, runs down Pennsylvania Avenue. Here, space is a bit tight. Behind me, there's a stage where you can see that there's a table. So we're expected to see Trump sign some executive orders as well here. And we know that he wants to issue mass deportations. Attendees here will be able to watch the inaugural signing ceremony and over in the Capitol here on the Jumbotron. So we're expecting marching bands, and one group in particular are the Butler County first responders who lost former fire chief Corey Comparator to a fatal bullet shot during Trump's rally in Butler, and it was an attempted assassination on Trump. Now, after the parade, Trump will head to the White House to complete signing of executive orders. And last night over here, Trump held a victory rally here, where it was also very packed. And he keyed in on several policy proposals that he'll take on day one, including releasing the January 6th prisoners, mass deportations. And this comes after this morning when President Biden, in one of his last acts as president, issued preemptive pardons for General Mark Milley, Dr. Anthony Fauci, and the January 6th committee members. And so as things are shaping up here, people are very excited to get a new president. Steve, back to you.
NTD's Jack Bradley live there in the Capital One Arena, where the president will be speaking after his official swearing in. Jack talked to us about some executive orders, expecting perhaps some seismic shifts in policy in our country. President Trump, he will have some big plans at the start of his second presidency, and some recent polls are telling us how Americans think he'll do. Let's head to our inaugural data hub now. Kevin Hogan. Kevin, what are some of the first things on Trump's to-do list?
Yes, Trump has a lot on his agenda right here, right off the bat. And Dave here has a data-driven segment on American sentiment heading into the second Trump administration. Is that right, Dave?
Yeah, I've got some confidence polls for Trump as far as what issues people think he can tackle. But you know what, Kevin? Let me start us off first here.
All right, come with me for the beginning of our dual inaugural hub segment, in which we're going to talk about President Trump's to-do list. This is 100 executive orders that he's planning to sign starting on day one. That's according to the Associated Press. There are reports from Fox News that Trump is planning to sign up to 200 executive orders, so it could be a lot that we're seeing. It's unclear if he will sign them all on day one, which will be today, or if he'll sign them in his first 100 days. But again, that is a big number right there. And what could those executive orders be? Well, that could be reversing some of Biden's energy policies. For example, revoking Biden's offshore drilling ban, for example. He might need Congress's help to enact a lot of these policies, but it could go as far as cutting off support for electric vehicles, even barring some of their components from coming in from China. The list goes on, but border security is really a big one. Trump has made a point of reining in illegal immigration. He could be reinstating his travel ban on Muslim-majority countries that he says are infested with terrorists, and that could include a ban on resettling refugees from Gaza. And also within these 100 or more executive orders could be commutations or pardons for individuals arrested in connection with the January 6th Capitol breach. We could see that happening very soon. So now, how do these proposed 100 or more executive orders off the bat compare to the usage of executive orders within the first 100 days? That's what you're looking at right here of the past four presidents. Well, as you can see, George W. Bush signed 12 executive orders in his first 100 days. President Obama signed 19. President Trump in his first term, in his first 100 days, 24, and President Biden, 42. So as you can see, the number of executive orders in their first 100 days has been going up in recent history. Now, what did they focus on? Well, President George W. Bush, he focused primarily on labor relations with these initial executive orders, also creating a tech advisory committee and things like that. Obama focused a lot, President Obama focused on equality. He was the first sitting president to visit a federal prison. He worked on things like lawful interrogations, policies towards detention, and legal detentions and things like that. And then President Trump, in his first 100 days of his first term, he was working to lessen the economic impact, he says, of Obama healthcare, Obamacare, that's the Affordable Care Act, as well as border security and cutting red tape for some of these high priority infrastructure projects. President Biden was grappling with the COVID pandemic, so he was signing executive orders to try to get that under control and to protect Americans, as well as reversing some of Trump's policies. So again, in the first 100 days, you can see that the executive order usage has been going up in recent history, but how does that compare to the history of the entire nation? And that's what you're looking at right now. This is the executive order use throughout history, from the first president, George Washington, all the way up to the present day. You see that timeline on the x-axis, and on the y-axis, you see the average number of executive orders signed per year, going from 0 to 300 or more. So what are you seeing right here? Well, George Washington, he signed 1 per year, so a total of 8 in his 8 years in office. And that trend, you can see that it wasn't used quite that much for this first portion of the country's history, just very, very low usage. But then, right at the turn of the 20th century, you have Howard Taft signing 181 per year, and that number continues to rise up to 307 for Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who was in office for 12 years. So not only does he have the record of the average per year, but he also has the highest number of executive orders signed at about 3,700. What was the nation going through at that time? That was World War II. His 12 years spanned the Great Depression. He also enacted a lot of his New Deal policies through executive orders. And then what happens right after about 1948, after President Truman used executive order to desegregate the military, bringing civil rights to Black Americans? Well, the executive order usage tapered off quite a bit, that you can see here from that peak that it had in the mid-20th century, down to about 38 on average under Biden's tenure. So contrary to that political narrative that executive order usage is becoming more common nowadays, it's actually on a decline off its peak from Franklin Delano Roosevelt's time. So now we talked about American sentiment, and Dave here, he has a lot of information now on what the Americans are viewing as Trump takes office the second time. So where does the public stand on what Trump will be able to tackle or not as he takes office?
Yeah, having already been in office, I think there's plenty of confidence in what Trump's strengths already are. But let's take a look at a recent Gallup poll here, taken just last month, where people were asked, what issues they thought Trump could handle best. In other words, public confidence in Trump. Let's take a look at the top 5 issues, most confidence in Trump here. Number 1 here, 68% said he could control illegal immigration. That was the most confident issue they had in Trump. That was followed here by reducing unemployment. 60% said he could reduce unemployment. 60% also said he could keep us safe from terrorism. That was followed by improving the economy at 58%. And finally, 55% said he could keep the nation out of war. Now, no big surprises here, although what I would have thought actually improving the economy would be a little bit higher here, although it kind of goes hand in hand here with reducing unemployment. But these things Trump has been talking about in his campaign for quite some time. Now, we showed you the top 5. Let's take a look at the bottom 5, the least confident issues people have in Trump. Number 1 here, healing the country's political divisions. This was the least confident issue they had for Trump. Just 33% thought he could heal the country's political divisions.
We're just going to interrupt for a moment here as we take a look at the screen where a bus has just arrived, where it appears to be dropping off members of the president's cabinet. We saw Doug Burgum there. We saw Kristi Noem, Marco Rubio, quite a few folks filing in. And right now the feed has taken us to inside of the Capitol, where we see some military officials, other dignitaries, and maybe members of Congress. It's still unclear exactly who all will be attending and who is allowed to attend, given the the shortage of seats, really. As you can see, it is, if you've ever been into the nation's Capitol Rotunda, it is a beautiful space. As you can see, all of those historic paintings from our revolution, from our founding, different parts, significant parts of our nation's history. Right now, as we continue to watch this feed, we are going to go back to NTD's Dave Martin to continue to hear from him at the Data Hub. Dave?
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, we were talking about the public confidence in Trump. Let's actually go looking at the bottom 5 issues here. I was just mentioning the healing the country's political divisions. Just 33% thought he could heal the country's political divisions. That was the lowest here on the list. Meanwhile, 35% thought he could improve the environment quality. That was the second lowest. 40% said he could improve the healthcare system, followed by 41% saying he could improve race relations, and then 43% said he can improve education. Now, no big surprises on this list either, really. Now, Trump has talked about possibly the need to do something with the healthcare system and the education. So, Kevin, I guess we'll have to see what he has in store for his second term there.
Not a lot of surprises, like you said. I mean, the mantra for Trump was peace through strength, so keeping the country out of war, it makes sense, as well as Trump's border wall. But now, when you look at that list, how does that compare to 8 years ago when former President Trump first took office?
Yeah, Gallup actually did the same poll in November 2016, just after he won the election. Let's take a look at the biggest changes from that as far as the confidence poll. Let's go with the negative changes here first. The drops in confidence, if you will. The biggest drop in confidence was actually improving the healthcare system, as I just mentioned, down a 12-point drop here from 8 years ago. I think it went from 52 down to 40%. Similarly, improving education, a 10-point drop here with this issue, 53% down to 43%. And a 6-point drop in the issue of healing the country's political divisions. Kind of surprisingly here, a 2-point drop then in improving the economy. That's probably maybe the biggest surprise on the list, although it's only a 2-point drop. Now, we've taken a look at the drops in confidence, if you will. Let's take a look at the biggest bumps in confidence since that time, since November of 2016. Keeping the nation out of the war, that was the biggest bump in confidence people had in Trump, from 38 to 55%, a 17-point bump in confidence. The second biggest, controlling illegal immigration, a 9-point bump that Trump can handle this issue, following an 8-point bump in that he can reduce the crime rate. And this one, somewhat surprising on the surface, improving race relations, a 6-point bump. As we saw earlier, it's still only up to 41%. But as we saw in the November election, with the exit polls especially, Trump did a lot better among minorities, especially, Kevin, with the Latino votes in particular.
Yes, that's exactly right. It could partly be part of the reason why he won the election. And also keep the nation out of war. I mean, he brokered the Abraham Peace Accords, so that's definitely a major step there. Dave, thank you for that. And we're going to head back to you all at the desk.
And thank you both for that as we continue to look at the live feed inside of the nation's capital, where the swearing in will be taking place. We saw some footage there of some of the cabinet appointees filing in. We're going to have a listen right now.
The Honorable Mitch McConnell, accompanied by the Honorable Elaine Chao.
Speaking of cabinet members, there's a former cabinet official right there who was one of many who departed early because of the January 6th riots. Elaine Chao with her husband, former Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, recently stepping down from that position. Currently John Thune, I believe he's North Dakota Senator, taking that post. So as we continue to watch this feed here, we'll fade out of the sound a little bit. And Carla, I'd like to get your thoughts. I thought it was interesting to see, it's not just Elaine Chao, former cabinet members. 2017, that presidency was tumultuous. Would you say that January 6th and all of the unfortunate events that sort of took place in the aftermath has sort of been a crucible to find out who some of Donald Trump's most loyal appointees will be in this?
Yeah, I think so, because we know who ran away right after that happened. We had a president who said peacefully and patriotically protest. Big tech took that video down that he posted soon after he posted it. We saw him ask for 10,000 National Guard troops to keep the Capitol safe, but Nancy Pelosi and the leader of the Senate did not ask for them. And the mayor said, no, we don't need them. So he was doing all the right things, but clearly all the right things weren't being done by others. When I was posted in Denmark, I was démarched by the foreign minister, that's like the Secretary of State. Démarche is a fancy word for called on the carpet. And he said, I demand you denounce President Trump because he incited an armed insurrection on the Capitol. And I said, Mr. Foreign Minister, you never called me in all of 2020 when our cities were burning down, when people were rioting and looting, Antifa, Black Lives Matter. I said, why did you never call me then and you call me now? He said peacefully and patriotically protest. No, he incited a riot and 5 police officers were killed, he said. I said, no, I only saw one person killed, and that was Ashley Babbitt by a Capitol police officer, and she was unarmed. And he demanded over and over that I denounce President Trump. I did not do that because I watched with my own eyes.
Carla, I'm just going to interrupt you. It's an interesting contingent that we see filing in right here. You see Mark Zuckerberg, looks like his wife there, Priscilla Chan, filing in, and Jeff Bezos as well. So
and his fiance.
The tech giants. It's really remarkable. A lot of these people, to the point that you were just making, taking different positions after January 6th.
It's a new day.
It's a new day. It is certainly a new day. We're going to continue to watch this feed as it comes in. Prior to watching Mark Zuckerberg filing in, there was a shot there of former Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich.
And his wife Callista.
Different from the previous group that we were talking about, who, Callista was ambassador to the Holy See, and she will be the incoming ambassador to Switzerland. And right now you see former President Bill Clinton and his wife Hillary, Trump's challenger in 2016.
He's uniting everyone.
As they continue to file in, I'm sure there'll be more.
Is that Boris Johnson?
Yep, Boris Johnson, former British Prime Minister. Looks like there might actually be more seats in there than we anticipated. Some members of Congress. These are some Democratic members of Congress, Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
I was told they're not allowed to bring their spouses in most cases.
Seats are certainly very limited now that everything has been moved indoors. Former Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy.
In 1985, when Ronald Reagan was sworn in inside, there were only 95 people in the room. This is, yes, I know, yeah, this is much more robust. They separate. There was a Sunday swearing in and Monday inaugural, but still much smaller.
And from what I understand, they were all standing.
Yes.
Oh
yes.
My.
Very informal. Not nearly as robust and almost august.
And there you have Vivek Ramaswamy, one of the co-chairs of the Department of Government Efficiency.
I hear he's running for as governor of Ohio.
Yes, Vivek. He's floated it. I don't know if it's official yet, but to challenge. Trump did truth something out, I think, in that regard, to challenge Mike DeWine. Trump not a big fan of the current governor of Ohio. There's Chairman of the Oversight Committee, James Comer, making his way in there. More members of Congress. House Democratic leader Steny Hoyer. And to your point, Carla, it does not look like the members of Congress are with their spouses due to that limited seating.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like a lot of them are arriving solo here. Vivek Ramaswamy, Marjorie Taylor Greene,
Lots of red.
Lots of red. Diana Harshbarger of Tennessee right there on your screen. One significant member of Congress that we are not going to be seeing here is former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi.
She's not coming.
From what I understand, yeah, she will not be attending. She's declined to come. Darrell Issa, California. Right there you can see Newt Gingrich, former Speaker of the House. It's a very good seat. Another significant no-show will be Michelle Obama, the former First Lady, not expected to attend, and former President Barack Obama will be in attendance. We haven't seen him arrive yet. There's Mike Turner, Congressman Mike Turner, recently removed from the House Intelligence Committee. That was a very interesting move that kind of got swept away in the news cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Foreign dignitaries will certainly be here, as we were talking earlier with Carla. This is a historic moment in this presidency or early presidency to have foreign dignitaries invited. We saw Javier Milei, the Argentinian president, in attendance, and we'll be keeping an eye out for others as well. This is a shot outdoors as people continue to file in. That looks like Tucker Carlson making his way in there.
Is that Rudy Giuliani?
It is Rudy.
Going in. Oh, wow, fantastic. Well, look, I mean, we're seeing a parade of both left and right coming together. Big tech, which were the enemies of Donald Trump just a few short months ago. So hopefully this is, a united front, a healing moment. Donald Trump being inclusive. I think we're starting to see that, and hopefully leaving that behind when he starts his new term.
And that's joining us right now. That voice you're hearing is Angie Wong, a Miami GOP committee woman who's just joined our panel. Angie, it's great to have you on and to get your perspective. We're going to be talking to you a little bit later. We mentioned it earlier before you joined us about the big swings in different districts. And Miami was one of the biggest, most historic. And from what I understand, you had a pretty big part to play in that. So we'd like to wow. Get the notes out of your playbook on that.
Love to share.
In the meantime, we are still waiting President-elect Trump and President Biden to depart the White House after their meet and greet and tea ceremony, as well as the First Lady and First Lady-elect, and the VPs as well, the Vice Presidents, also in their meeting. Right there on your left-hand side is the shot of the White House where we'll be seeing those departures. Be keeping a close eye on those as we watch the feed there in the Capitol. And it does appear to be filling in, more and more people filling those seats. I'm sure it will be a standing room only event.
It's very impressive how fast they changed everything, where they went from the outdoor to the indoor. Literally, as soon as he said it, they began taking down the scaffolding around the city.
Oh,
it was
yeah.
extraordinary how quickly they pivoted, and what a beautiful job they've done.
Yes, indeed. Right now, for as cold as it is here in Washington, we all experienced it coming in. It does look like it is a pretty sunny day, and so there's a silver lining in that. Folks are not having to dodge the rain. Jeff, you could weigh in here. What are we going to see? That looks like the White House with the beast. Who's going to be in that vehicle? Will that be President Trump or I'm assuming it will be?
President Trump and President Biden as they ride together.
They're going to be riding together.
That is the tradition, is to ride together. Jimmy Carter and Ronald Reagan famously rode together in 1980, didn't say a word to one another. I think Joe Biden has set a tone, right, when he said welcome home to Donald Trump.
Indeed.
That this will be much more convivial than 1980, and trying to set a tone, to turn a page and not let this be 2017. Donald Trump's the legitimately elected president, govern, and then, Democrats can oppose, when they see fit.
It is rather ironic, to your point, that Trump was not in attendance for Biden's.
Yes. Yeah, and it turning the page.
And yep, we're looking here at this live feed. When you look back at 2020 as well, we have to remember that was a historic time. COVID, the lockdowns. We were in the midst of lockdowns at that time. So if you go back and look at those photos, there weren't many people.
Unnecessary lockdowns too.
Yeah, I think a lot of people might agree with that.
Fauci was just pardoned today. I don't even know if that's a thing before you've been charged with a crime.
And we will certainly be talking about that as the day continues to unfold. Right now, you can see some more members of Congress in your screen. It looks like Michael Whatley, RNC co-chair, along with, not in the feed, but the other co-chair, President-elect Donald Trump's daughter-in-law, Lara, who he has given much praise to for his election and sorting out a lot of the election irregularities that he often mentions. Top right of the screen there, you have one of your home state of Pennsylvania Congressman, Dan Muser.
There's Dan Muser and Chip Roy next to him.
Chip Roy, yep.
Folks at the
Capital One Arena. It is a live look at the Capital One Arena. Certainly not the rotunda. We went from the rotunda to the. They will be watching the inauguration from the jumbotron inside of the Capital One Arena, and it was all first come first serve. From some of the reports, people were filing outside since 8 p.m. last night, maybe even before that, to get in. People of all ages, young and old. It did not matter if you had a ticket for inauguration. This was all first come, first served, so people were out there early. A lot of people came in from around the country, and the world really, for that matter, to watch the inauguration. And unfortunately, for weather reasons, perhaps security reasons, and they are still looking pretty excited. There's some energy in there.
Celebrating. New era of peace and prosperity.
Yes, indeed.
Well, they've been waiting 4 long years for this very moment. This is the very end of a very, very long election season. So, look, all of these guys, brought Donald Trump into office again. So it's their, victory as well.
Indeed, indeed.
I mean, this is not your father or grandfather's Republican Party, and I think Democrats were really surprised by Donald Trump's coalition. And that it was so many non-white.
We're gonna sorry, Jeff. We're gonna cut to the feed here and watch the First Lady coming out here.
Do they ride separately from their husbands?
This might be a question for Jeff. What do you think they'll be talking about in that car ride?
I'm not sure if Jill Biden is verbose as Joe Biden is. One would hope that they're going to be talking about plans for redecorating the White House. Who I would love to be, a fly in that limousine wall.
I mean, according to reports, Melania Trump was not pleased about the raid that took place at Mar-a-Lago for those documents.
Can you imagine?
An invasion of privacy and
it was unprecedented.
Yes.
It had never happened in the history of our country. They went through her personal drawers, her closet, her son's closet. Yeah, it was really, I'm sorry to say, it was shameful.
Oh, there's Anna Paulina wearing a tie. Good for her. That's her signature look these days.
Anna Paulina Luna, the Florida Congresswoman.
That's right.
Oh, there's
Susie Wiles.
Susie Wiles, Trump's incoming chief of staff, is also in charge of his campaign, really.
I think talking to Miriam Adelson.
Miriam Adelson.
Sheldon's widow. She was very generous to President Trump during the campaign.
Any moment we will see the two presidents, President Joe Biden and President-elect Donald Trump, coming out and entering the beast, as they call it, the armored vehicle, to make their way to the Capitol. Looks like the door's opening now. And there you have the Vice President. Kamala Harris, Vice President-elect, J.D. Vance, making their way in.
Very well, thank you. Great, thank you. Good morning. Stay warm. Thank you, sir.
So, I guess, how difficult is it for Vice President Harris to have to, I guess, go through the motions of this day when she just had a hard-fought, hard-lost campaign of her own? Mike Johnson on the screen there as well, Speaker of the House.
To come up, 200,000 votes short of what would have been an electoral college victory just has to be extraordinarily painful. I mean, at the Jimmy Carter's funeral, I believe she and Donald Trump didn't speak. I think there's some hard feelings. One can only imagine, the gut punch he's feeling today. Yeah, I wonder what she and J.D. Vance had to say. Maybe some advice on being vice president to being overshadowed.
Vice President's certainly an interesting role, especially somebody who's played a leadership role in most of their lives in business. J.D. Vance, being the principal, being the senator, all the attention on him. Now you do have to sort of take a step back, especially when you're Vice President to Donald Trump.
It seems like the office of the vice presidency has returned to what it used to be. Starting with Walter Mondale or even a George H.W. Bush, vice presidents had a more prominent role in the last 50 years. But I think what we've seen with both Kamala Harris and Mike Pence is that the vice presidents are very much in the background in a way that they really haven't been in the past 40 or 50 years. I suspect we're not going to hear a lot from Vice President Vance. I mean, he'll be busy behind the scenes, but President Trump kind of takes the limelight.
Yeah. And interesting to note that 15 vice presidents went on to become president, 8 of which took office when the sitting president died. 6 were elected. So we'll see what the future holds for J.D. Vance.
And he's very young. It's like more like a fatherly, President Trump's like a father age to him. So I think that also is interesting in the dynamic, right?
An Eisenhower-Nixon kind of relationship. I mean, at this point, and he has 4 decades in the national limelight. And and again, he ran for office in the Senate. He was it was rough because he's not a natural politician who's run for office his entire life. And so give him 4 years to kind of grow into the role. I mean, being not in the limelight is good for J.D. Vance. I mean, I think we saw that with Kamala Harris. She ran a really bad campaign in 2020, and in 24, she ran a surprisingly strong campaign compared to the candidate she was in 20.
It's true.
Yeah, and Vance, I think, can do the same thing, perhaps. You can really grow as vice president. Not necessarily, not all vice presidents do, but if you're a quick study, and I suspect no one doubts J.D. Vance's smarts.
It's very bright.
Yes.
Yeah, look at how he's grown just since he was announced to now. When he was on the campaign trail, he got stronger and stronger. I saw the growth.
Even much better than when he ran for the Ohio Senate. That was,
yes, certainly.
You could tell it was his first run for public office.
Yeah.
Do you think he will be like a Mike Pence?
It looks like the two presidents are coming out right now. President-elect, looks like Senator Amy Klobuchar there taking center stage, at least for a moment.
With all that wind, it seems Melania had a good idea to put her hair up and put a hat on.
What did he say there? He said something to the press.
Joe Biden?
No, Donald Trump mentioned something. I think the press was shouting some questions, last-minute questions to him.
Really interesting. Senator Klobuchar there is taking the ride along with him.
Mm.
We didn't see that with the other 2 motorcades.
Maybe that was at Joe Biden's request.
Perhaps, and it, one thing. I mean, it is cold. Who knows what was talked about? But nobody seemed too jovial on the walk back in there. So we'll wonder if there's a microphone that we could tap into.
That would be incredible to hear what's being talked about in this very, very short ride from the White House to the Capitol. But it's still probably the longest ride for these 2 gentlemen, right?
25 years from now, we're all going to be reading Amy Klobuchar's memoir and turning to that page.
Is she a chaperone or a witness?
Yes.
That's incredible.
Keeping the peace.
Yes. She'll get a Peace Prize for that car ride. Oh, fantastic. Well, is that John Fetterman wearing a hoodie?
Oh my goodness gracious. Staying true to form. Carhartt.
Oh no. I wonder if he gets sponsored.
I was just going to say. Some product
placement.
placement.
Wearing those as lieutenant governor in Pennsylvania as well, where he showed up 1/3 of the time to work. He's my senator. Yes.
And this is the president's motorcade right here. President Trump and President Biden making their way down Pennsylvania Avenue in this historic moment, watching it unfold. We're just less than an hour and a half away of President Trump taking office.
What an incredible moment.
Incredible.
Even with all the pomp and pageantry, I don't think we'll ever get sick of watching this.
No.
And look at the crowds forming on the streets. When I was coming to the studio today, they had crowds outside, ready to go.
To your point, it sounds like you can hear them here from the feed, from the street.
And seeing the motorcade go by at night is also extraordinary because there are so many these special motorcycles that run ahead of the actual motorcade. It takes minutes to go by. There's so many vehicles.
Yeah, security is just been heightened.
Yes. But it does show the power of the United States government.
In 1945, Harry Truman was living in Blair House because they were refurbishing the White House. And just to give you a sense of the difference, he was nearly assassinated by Puerto Rican nationalists. He had almost literally no Secret Service protection. Just by happenstance, they missed. It is just the amount of necessary security in the past 75 years. But as recently as World War II, presidents would walk almost unguarded at particular times.
It's incredible. We were just hearing, I think it was on this show, that they were staying at the Blair House only because of security, right? Normally, President Trump would, I would imagine, stay at his own golf club where he's comfortable, but because of security and everything that's been heightened, he had to stay at the Blair House, as is tradition as well.
And reading the memoirs of the early presidents, people could just walk into the White House and say, I want to see the president. Can you imagine? No appointment, you just walk in. And they would open the house for certain parties and just anyone could come in. It was extraordinary, the openness before the security threats.
Yeah, Harry Truman talked about the White House as the world's most expensive prison. Because, you know, in a lot of presidents, they very much blanch at being kind of disconnected. And, you know, that's really Donald Trump's kind of political gift, is that he's wealthy and powerful, but somehow he's able to keep his pulse on the American public in a way that other political elites just aren't able to do.
I think there's a common man within him that lives within him that makes him very feel in tune with the people and at home with the people that say build buildings and, you know, his construction teams and things. I think he feels a real affinity for those people. But when I was ambassador to Denmark, they told me that my predecessors before, say, the 80s, you could just walk into the embassy and say, I want to see the ambassador, and anyone could have access. It wasn't hardened. It was really only after 9/11 that it hardened, and then you had to go through, you know, security like you would to see a president. Yeah. So it's been a gradual hardening of all of these access points. It's a shame to lose that openness.
Indeed.
Yeah, the American embassies in any large city in the world, they're gated. It is necessary, but it's just not the best public diplomacy that we can offer.
And that's every country's embassy. They all are hardened now. No.
That looks like the motorcade passing the J. Edgar Hoover FBI building in the Department of Justice on the left side of your screen, out of picture.
Well, that's quite telling, because that's probably one of the first departments that's going to get it completely revamped as of, well, 12:01 today.
I'm sure that is on the high priority list.
Yes.
Or when Kash Patel gets in there
yes,
to
that's right.
Reorganize. I don't think he's had his hearings yet.
No.
They've been delayed, right, for a little bit.
So many people that were in town for the actual inauguration ceremonies on the National Mall unable to attend, obviously, because of the shift indoors. You can see many people lining up in the streets trying to get a view, and you can hear them cheering on the president and just trying to make something of the day.
Mm-hmm. And they're not leaving. They just want to be close to what's happening, and they're so excited.
Yeah, there was supposed to be over 200,000 people flown in, and as soon as they landed, we're a little bit disappointed that they're not going to be on the mall today, but I'm sure they're going to have plenty of President Trump moments over the next few hours.
And I would think that this whole event is very good for the Washington, D.C. economy and the surrounding town's economy because of so many visitors coming from outside. Now they'll be in restaurants rather than on the mall.
This image right here that was just on the screen gives you an idea of the security that has gone into this. Walking into our building here, which is just across from the Capitol today, couldn't even walk down Pennsylvania Ave where you can see all of the fences, multiple layers of fencing, different checkpoints and the magnets that search for weapons and different things like that. So, yeah, it's quite a perimeter that's been expanded. And there's one gate right there as they pass through.
Now, in previous inaugurations, has security been this tight, or do you think it's been more heightened because of President Trump?
I would have to say, just based on this inauguration, the security checkpoint that we got initially, it expanded 2 days ago. So with that said, I would surely say with the 2 assassination attempts, the political discourse in the country and different forms of threats, other adversaries becoming more advanced in their technology with drones and whatnot, that this is probably the most secure inauguration in American history.
Although there were, 8 years ago, many fences that are up today were up at that time in the first inauguration, and there were people burning cars nearby me as I was going to events. So there were, you know, kind of black bloc Antifa type people that were out and about trying to make trouble, but it was a similar difficult path to get around town as now with the gates and things, the access.
One suspects this is the new normal. National,
Yes.
I mean the National Guard, where,
Yeah.
you know, closing off roads the last couple of days. We're not going to have, I mean, this is what inaugurations are going to look like. I imagine if I were Washingtonian, I might flee the district every
agree.
inauguration. Rent your place out on Verbo.
Right?
In Mar-a-Lago, as the press has been descending upon Palm Beach because it's what's been dubbed the Winter White House, security there has certainly been upgraded from previous years as well, where they shut down the road. I did read a report that they may have just opened that up, the road that goes right across the front. I believe it's A1A, but that was shut down for a couple of months since the election took place.
You had to go across a bridge and around,
And around.
to West Palm Beach to get there. That's correct.
Yep.
I noticed how professional all the National Guard, the police officers, and the sheriffs were as I was coming here. They were all helpful, but there was a robust presence. There are so many military and, you know, peace officers in town. I don't know that they're all local. I would think that some of them come from outside. There are so many.
Miami had sent over 200 officers up here, and I suspect other cities had as well.
How
all
exciting.
volunteer.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
they're
wow.
excited as well. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, Donald Trump is the pro-police president, so they were very excited to receive that trip, and they're, you know, manning our streets today.
And so, from what I understand, you know, there will be some ceremonies as the president makes his way inside of the Capitol. He will not be coming out right away. There will be the president's own played by the United States Marine Band. We will see that. And the call to order, this might now make a little bit more sense why we saw Senator Klobuchar. She will be doing the call to order once we get inside there. And then Trump will arrive in the rotunda. Vance will be introduced. The vice president will actually be sweared in before the president, and we will see that. And as you can see right now, they are getting ready. There's President Biden in the background on the small box to the left, now making his way in. The two presidents.
He is this close to becoming the 47th president of the United States. He's taking his final steps in. He must be so excited. He's been waiting for this a very, very long time.
8 years.
Same with his fans. We're all excited for
Or
him.
4 years, I should say, 4 years.
The mic was able to pick up President Trump just a bit there, saying good morning to some of the law enforcement officials there. Elon Musk and the CEO of Google.
Wow.
Exchanging what appears to be pleasantries.
President Trump's even brought Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos together. I saw them shake each other's hands last night. So he is absolutely a peacemaker, and he loves to bring people together. He is not a divider, he is a uniter.
It's interesting as they're rivals in space as well.
They are
and
indeed.
business.
Right.
Good morning, Mr. Vice President. How do you feel?
And space will be on the agenda for this new president, that is one of, I think that's going to be one of his pillars of the next presidency. He's already been making big moves in Florida, opening another spaceport. So we're excited to see the next generation of space and exploration.
And President Trump created Space Force.
That's correct.
And because we understand that the war is also being fought in space right now.
Right. And I'm so happy to have that new blood in that they understand what that means and to advance it. Because that's certainly my children's language, right? So we definitely need to have more investments in that area.
For those of you space lovers, Trump has perhaps alluded to in different interviews and in different settings that he may release some files about UFOs.
Oh.
So we'll stay tuned for that.
Do you think that's within the first 200 executive orders that comes out?
He will be releasing, I think he mentioned it in his speech yesterday at Capitol One, the files related to the assassinations of JFK, RFK, and JFK, RFK, and there was another one there as well, Martin Luther King Jr. Yeah, yep. So that will be fascinating to watch.
Here's the cabinet entering.
Here's the cabinet here. Pam Bondi, Doug Burgum.
Brooke Rollins.
Brooke Rollins, yeah.
Agriculture.
Commerce,
right.
Donald Trump very much knows how to
RFK
maintain
Jr.
the public interest
Yes.
and appeal to the things that people are still interested in John Kennedy's assassination.
Sean Duffy, transportation.
Saw RFK Jr. in there. Speaking of RFK's files.
Governor Kristi Noem,
Yeah.
Homeland.
Homeland Security Secretary.
There's SBA.
Yep. Kelly Loeffler.
And Lee Zeldin.
Yep.
EPA. John Ratcliffe, CIA. Kash Patel, FBI.
Now, do you think Vivek will stay in Doge now that he's going to be running for...
No, it was announced he's stepping back.
Oh, he is going to step back, yeah. I was wondering if he was... got to multitask there. Which he can. That man's a genius.
Sure, he'll still have input in one way or another.
So that's Kevin Hassett, the light tie there, the bright tie. He was the former economic advisor. Now he's still working in the economy for President Trump in this administration. There's Marco Rubio.
Sundar Pichai of Google looks like in the lineup there with all the cabinet officials.
Stands out a little bit, doesn't it? Maybe he'll be appointed to something. Maybe
Perhaps
this is a preview. That'll be stunning.
Or we need him to run Google too, right?
Well, you know, Google has a lot of government contracts, right? So it wouldn't surprise me if he was offered something, or at least a partnership.
Dana White right there, good longtime friend of former, President-elect Trump. The Italian Prime Minister, President there, as
Giorgia
well as
Meloni.
Yep, as well as the Argentinian, Javier Milei. So, Carla, before we have to cut to the next big thing, talk to us about the appointment, the confirmation process.
Right. So when you're nominated, which he's done for his cabinet officials, you begin to be briefed in preparation for your Senate testimony, and you have a Sherpa, someone that gets you educated on your area that you're going to be focused on, if you don't have a security clearance, at the non-security clearance level, and then they take you to meet the senators you need to see to get confirmed, because they're going to be voting up or down. And then you have your hearing, and then you have to be voted out of committee, and then you're voted.
Former Vice President Mike Pence on
And
the
I'm
screen.
glad he's there. That's a good sign.
Yep.
We want unity in our country, and certainly in the Republican Party.
That's a pretty strong message that he's attending.
I agree. And I was happy to see them shake hands at the cathedral about a week ago, at the funeral for Jimmy Carter.
Jimmy Carter, yep.
The former ambassador to the UK for President Trump right there, Woody Johnson.
So, Jeff, talk to us about the history of inauguration addresses.
If we go back, most inaugural addresses are forgettable. We think about, William Henry Harrison, who gave his inaugural address in the driving rain and cold and then died a month later. So we remember the culmination of that. We think about John Kennedy, probably the most famous inaugural address. I mean, the whole point is to set the tone of the next 4 years. Generally, presidents don't rise to that task, or at least their speechwriters don't. Ronald Reagan did. 2017, I think, Donald Trump's speech, I think, set a tone of, combativeness. For his administration, so we'll see if he can reach some rhetorical heights that others have reached in the past.
And then there was also the official photo that is part of the new president taking office that we'll be seeing in various places, including on subway tickets here in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, it's interesting how there's all kinds of kind of very contemporary ways in which we kind of make emblematic this inauguration. We're going to be seeing that photo on social media and in government offices quite a bit over the next few weeks.
And there is the official portrait of J.D. Vance and former President Trump prior to, side by side. That is a interesting look on his face, somewhat reminiscent of another famous photo that he took. He's going to be looking over every single agency, it looks like, with a very intent,
watchful,
and keen, watchful eye.
It sets a tone.